Dr. Shola, welcome to Open and Unashamed. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I am doing great. I mean, we're always having a pre-conversation going on before we get started.
I
And so,
know.
and it's so good as you were just sharing a little bit about, what it is that God has gifted us with. I'll say it like that. That He's gifted us with these gifts and these talents. And sometimes I was sharing right before this is that we still live beneath our privileges,
Exactly.
regardless, right? Believing that we've arrived already. you
Yes.
know. So we are excited about this podcast, Open and Unashamed. We thank you all for joining us. Again, I am Evangelist Alisha Fuller. This is my partner, my host, co-host over here for today, Dr. Shola. And I am excited about this podcast. And so let's just go ahead and kick it off. We said we were going to talk a little bit about women today in honor of
Women's
Women History Month,
Month.
right?
Yes,
Our
yes, yes.
Women History Month. And so I'm excited about being a woman. That's what I'm excited about.
So am I.
Like,
So am I. Being a woman, being all of woman.
all of women,
Hint.
all of women. These are our t-shirts
We
from
have
a
our
program. Come on now. She was one of the
yes.
speakers and my girlfriend who supports me always at our All of Women 2023 conference. But today we want to talk about All of Women. Dr. Shola is a physician, and you wrote this piece that I saw on Instagram. And I said, hey, let's talk a little bit about that today, because you shared some things about women, who we are, who society says we need to be. And so I want to start there today. I want to start there today about women. We want to celebrate women. So we have women and men listening on today. We really want you to just tune in to this just open and unashamed conversation. There is no rhythm or rhyme to it. We are women of faith.
Yes.
And so look, we just having this open conversation about this. So I want to take a look at it. You got it up already.
So I have written a lot of things over the years. I'm going to try to pick on this speech that I wrote. And so kind of writing speeches. So I like to write. So every now and again, I'll write a speech, I'll write a sermon, I'll write a sales page, I'll write a story, I'll write a pithy quote. So I just wrote this speech, like, who knows, maybe one day I'll give it somewhere. And it just sounded nice to me.
Wow.
So I just go ahead and post it for Women's History Month. Because why not?
Why not? So you haven't spoken, you haven't actually given this speech anywhere. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, ma'am. That's what I'm saying.
I missed that somewhere.
No.
So why don't you give the speech today to our listeners?
Okay, well, why not, right?
Why not?
Why not? The speech that's going to see the light of day for the first time. So it goes thus. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Women's History Month is an important time to celebrate the contributions and achievements of women throughout history. For too long, women have been underrepresented and overlooked in many fields and industries. And Women's History Month provides an opportunity to shine a light on their accomplishments and acknowledge their impact on society. This month serves as a reminder of the struggles and sacrifices that women have made to gain equality and recognition in various fields, such as politics, science, arts, and sports. It is a time to honor the trailblazers who paved the way for future generations of women to succeed and thrive. Additionally, Women's History Month encourages the next generation of girls and young women to pursue their dreams and goals without limitations. By highlighting the achievements of women from diverse backgrounds, we can inspire future generations to break down barriers and achieve their full potential. Women's History Month also serves as an opportunity to reflect on the challenges that women still face today, such as gender inequality and discrimination. It's a call to action to continue the fight for equal rights and opportunities for women worldwide. In conclusion, Women's History Month is an important time to celebrate, recognize, and honor the achievements and contributions of women throughout history. By doing so, we can inspire future generations to break down barriers, pursue their goals and dreams, while continuing to advocate for gender equality and social justice. Thank you.
You are welcome. Woo! Look, I was reading it and you did an amazing job. Thank you for, just reading on this platform, because I was excited when I saw it on Instagram and I was like, oh, this is good. Okay, when did she do this? And I'm thinking you had already read it in front of an audience.
No.
No, you said no, but here you go.
It's waiting. It was waiting for its opportunity.
Well, the opportunity knocked and it is here. And so I want to have a discussion for some of the buzzwords that you said. You said that it gives us an opportunity to begin to talk about it and celebrate who we are as women in politics, in arts, in whatever that topic, career, profession that it is. Because I think sometimes we forget, as a society, we forget that woman is not just the wife and the mother.
Yes.
And I don't mean just to minimize it, because those are huge roles also.
They are, yes.
Right? But when you step out of that role, and as we talked about in our last episode, and we get a chance to be, you were talking about your book, Free to Be. When we get a chance to literally be, and we can explore the things we love and begin to operate in them. Those are the things I was thinking about when you were saying, go pursue without limitations.
Yes.
Pursue without limitations. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because the season God has us in right now, I believe God has said it and is saying it to move forward and pursue what I have for you already. I have you sitting here, but now instead of you just anticipating, you must participate and pursue. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Pursuing without limitations. Let's share with me a little bit about your thoughts.
Okay. I think that the biggest thing that comes to mind when I think of pursuing without limitations is, some of the limitations that that I'm going to start talking from a standpoint of internal limitations, such as this big one, the big mighty elephant in the room. It's called perfectionism.
Ooh, we just finished talking about that, right? Let's talk about it.
Because perfection isn't real, perfectionism shouldn't be real. A lot of people, women, right? If you're raised in an environment where your mistakes are severely punished, you grow up being a perfectionist who is afraid to take action unless they know, how can you know, right? That something is going to have a perfect outcome. But how can you ever know that? And so with that, I kind of lost my train of thought, but I was talking about
okay. We're talking about perfection. We're talking about pursuing without limitations.
Yes. And a lot of people, I'm sure you've met people who say things like, I'm a perfectionist. It's not the flex you think it is. If you're walking around saying, I'm a perfectionist, it's not the flex that you think. It just makes, when people tell me I'm a perfectionist, sorry, the first thing I think is, well, you've got a big old stick up your butt. I know. So, but on a more serious note, how do we take action, imperfect action? Because a lot of times you have to learn by doing, and you have to take imperfect action. If you're waiting for everything to be perfect, you will never start. You will never even start to pursue, let alone pursue without limitations. Sometimes those limitations are in our own minds. I like to share all the time what I call the tale of 3 iPhones. Almost all my clients have heard this story. I have in my hand an iPhone 4. I remember the first day I got this, because I had the iPhone 3, and this was an upgrade. I went to work and I said, have you ever seen anything so amazing? The resolution, look at this, etc. Look at it, look at the way it fits in my hand. And then came the iPhone 6.
Come on through here, iPhone 6.
Everything's so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then came the iPhone 8. Have you ever seen how many iPhones have we had since the iPhone 8? But
right.
if Mr. Jobs was waiting for the perfect iPhone, he would never have had it. We would not be seeing an iPhone today because he's gone. And more iPhones every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every year there's a new iPhone. I've lost count of the number of iPhone they are on now. I think this is either the 10 or the 12, but they've had like 14, 15, 16, 17. So the point I'm trying to make with all this humor is that, you know, let go of the self-limiting belief of perfectionism. Instead, embrace excellence. What is excellence? Now, I have my own definition for excellence because I like to put my own definition to words because why not? It's more fun. Excellence to me is doing the best you can with what you have available to you, whether that's time, energy, money, knowledge, ability, right? Doing things to the best of your ability at the time that ability is available to you, you're excellent. Because the next time you do it, it will be more excellent and more excellent and more excellent. And now in our striving, we're not striving for perfection, we're striving for progress. And we can be a masterpiece and a work in progress all at the same time. We can be an excellent work in progress.
Absolutely.
And throw perfection away because it doesn't exist.
It does not exist. I was just pulling up one of the definitions of perfectionism, and I wanted to share that really quick just to add on to what it is that you shared. According to wellness, perfectionism is the belief that everything must be perfect all the time. Okay. So when you mention that, people say, oh, I'm this perfectionist. That's because a lot of times we're hearing this word. It's like a buzzword. And then it becomes this cliche. And then you find out that's not really what it means. So we take it out of context a lot of times. And so a perfectionist sets impossible goals. Okay. So off the bat, we are already setting ourselves up on what could be failure or what we may see as failure. If we have that failure mentality. Because every time something doesn't work our way, doesn't mean that it's failure, but it becomes a growth opportunity. Okay. But to the perfectionists, they see it as failure. All right. So and then it says, and they feel crushed when they are not achieved. All right. So someone who strives to be their best and they have these challenging and unachievable goals. All right. So this perfectionist, I'm glad you talked about this because as women, we will dot every I, we want to dot every T. And let me take this back. I don't mean all women, but I believe we all have had this experience. I believe somewhere along the road, we've had this experience, right? And so being this perfectionist. So for me, I'm a mental health counselor. Perfectionism, anxiety and perfectionism goes together. Procrastination goes together with it. Okay. And so you'll find yourself so anxious, making sure that everything is perfect. I cannot move forward unless it's perfect. All right. And God is saying, but you're not perfect. That's what all a woman talks about. I'm this fallible creature. I am not perfect. I'm imperfect. I make mistakes. There's flaws in some of the things and decisions and choices that I make. But at the end of the day, we serve a perfect God. And so I don't have to be perfect in this thing. That's where faith comes in. That's where trust comes in. That's where belief comes in, right? So when we're talking about pursuing without limitations, I love the statement because once I can put down some of those barriers that I have created, that society has created, I've created it in my mind because I've accepted what someone else has said, or my experience, or what has been dealt out to me. I tell people, we didn't ask for the cards. No. Your child didn't ask for the cards. They didn't ask for this deck, this 52 cards that you gave them. They didn't ask for it. They didn't ask for the 23, right? The 23 and the 23, the chromosomes and the DNA that runs through their body. They didn't ask for it. No. It was dealt to them. And so my encouragement, even as we're talking and we're going through the speech, is that you look at the cards that you're dealt. That was the analogy I gave someone about 3 weeks ago. I can look at it, I can assess it. I can see if I want to play the king, the queen. That's for people who know how to play cards too. I do spade, I can do, bid whist, but at the end of the day, I could also throw away the cards that I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I don't have to accept the entire deck. I can look at the deck and say, well, let me assess this. Do I want to keep this or do I want to throw it away?
I love
Come
it.
on now, you see?
I love it.
So
I've never actually seen that before. You can throw away the cards you don't want.
You can throw away the cards you don't want, And so that's our encouragement today. So another part of your beautiful speech says that you inspire and break down the barriers. We can inspire and break down the barriers. And you mentioned to girls in the next generation. I'd like to talk a little bit about that because that part is important. That's why we're here today.
Yes.
That's why we're here today.
Exactly. And I think that sometimes we, in our effort to give our children what we didn't have, we may sometimes forget to pass on what we actually did have. What we learned and what we actually did glean, and the barriers that we broke down.
That's good.
I come from a generation where even what you studied in school, your parents told you, it was more of your parents' control what you went to school to study. I had a friend, name withheld, whose father told her that if you're not going to study science, I'm not going to pay for your books. But now we've broken that barrier. We've shown the world that we don't only have to do what our parents want, and even the things our parents, we can step out of that mold. And it's funny how that conversation that it should come up in conversation. My daughters are now, my older one is currently in the process of college application. And what she wants to study is not my first choice, but it's like, guess what? You're not the one going to study it. Let her study what she wants to study. And let her follow her passion. Let her follow the career she wants, and let her stop trying to stop telling her that she needs to be an engineer because she has to it, and let her
help the people.
So to me, not trying to cast my child into some mold of what I think is to me, is breaking down a barrier, because I still have people who are my generation who are trying to make their kids study what they want them to study, and you hear them say things, oh, my kid likes this school because it has a strong academic something. I'm like, no, that's not your kid, that's you.
They don't even know about the strong academic. They don't even use the language.
Exactly. It's not talking about a strong academic nothing of nothing.
Come on with the real conversation.
It's breaking the barriers. Another way I think, and for me, I think it's just easier to share my own stories. When it came to financial education, I'm going to use that term, my parents were, go to school, get a job, go to school, get this degree, get a job, you'll be fine. And I was not fine. How to save, how much to save, how credit and how to use it, what is good debt, what is bad debt, different things. I had to learn them myself. And one of the first things I did, as soon as my kids were able to use a computer, we started putting them in these financial education classes. I started teaching them how to invest. I remember the day I explained to my younger one, when she was 5 years old, what shares were. And I looked at myself, I said, if you can explain shares to a 5-year-old, you're good. She understood, okay, what shares were. And now, every now and again, we sit down and like, okay, these are companies, these are their shares, we read the reports and all of that. Should we buy? What do you think? Should we buy? Should we hold? Should we sell? And now I'm teaching them how to invest in shares and all of that. Back then it was like, oh, investing in shares is for the rich. You can invest $10.
$10. You started somewhere.
Exactly. You start somewhere. You can invest with
somewhere.
You can invest with $10. And you know, I've taught them about money, things that I learned. So now they're already standing on my shoulders. They already know. They already have their brokerage accounts, and they already invest, and they already know that going in, stuff that it took me into my 40s to learn.
And how old are they now?
17 and 14.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Breaking the barriers.
Breaking the barriers.
Breaking the barriers.
It doesn't mean that you have to be. A lot of times when people think of things like breaking the barriers, they're talking about, oh, I have to be famous in some political art thing. No, you start with your family and the people around you. That's where it starts from, you know? Whenever I meet little girls, like going to schools and all that, and they want to be all shy with me, and I do this. Here, I'm here, look at me. Yes. And I'm there, I'm smiling at you. I mean, I want to see your beautiful face. You want to see my beautiful face. Let's look at each other.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
You don't have to.
You know, I've been wanting to do that to grown folk. I just know they're grown, and I can't really put my hand in their face right to do this. But it's real.
Yes.
It's real, right? Our women are challenged with believing in themselves and understanding that their life experience is not who they are. We don't have to show up with all of our life experiences. We can get the healing that's needed. We can, like we said, throw away some of those cards, and we can begin to look up more than what we do. You know, so if nothing else, whoever's listening to this, be it if it's a man or a woman, because you may have girls that you may need to give them a chin up, you know, and share with them, hey, we need you to look up. See, know that your self-worth and value walks into the room when you walk in the room.
Yes.
That's the encouragement of our young women, of our girls, of our teens, because many of them are walking around with their heads down. They're worried about life, you know, and I get it. I'm one who, you know, was raised with 7 siblings, and I fall number 5 in between there. So 4 over me and 3 under me.
The middle of middle
I'm the middle of the middles. It's 2, me and him, we shared that space. Okay. And you know, but it was my mom, amazing. You know, we talk about honoring women for Women's History Month. And normally I will honor her on social media sites because you said it earlier. She gave us what she could.
Yes.
She gave us what she could. She took care of all of these children, single woman, a woman of faith who grew in faith and gave us what she could. And so I'm breaking barriers now. This podcast is breaking barriers.
Oh, yes.
You see what I'm saying? We're talking about real life issues, open and unashamed. We're putting our own selves out there first. And this is what keeps us free. This is what keeps us free. So I was excited about the various topics that you were sharing and talking about. And one of the other things you said, and then, you know, we'll move wherever you want to move, but you said celebrate and recognize.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're not celebrated enough, you know, and we need to have our own Grammy Awards, our own, you know, shows and things like that. This right now is a celebration, celebrating you. I'm being celebrated, you know? And so we don't have these type of celebrations often, that we're celebrating our sisters, celebrating our brothers on this scale, because we already talked about it. We have to start somewhere. So it doesn't have to be this big, huge platform, but we do need to be celebrated.
Yes.
Everybody desires to be celebrated and validated. Yep. So we must have moments like this with our children, with spaces like this. So when you talk about celebrating and recognize, I'd like for you to share just a little bit more about those different careers that you believe or areas of a woman's life that may not have been recognized, even if it was in the past. And now we're moving into the future with it.
Yes. And before I go into that, to your point about celebrating, I think that it's very important for women to learn to celebrate themselves. Because many times nobody's going to celebrate you. It's true, right? Not only are people not going to celebrate you, they will take credit for your work and pass it off as theirs. it's important for us as women to learn to celebrate ourselves. When I was growing up, I heard this phrase, don't blow your own trumpet. I have taken that and squeeze it up into a piece of paper and thrown it out the window. I blow my own trumpet because if somebody else blows it, they might blow a discordant note on it. It's only bragging if it ain't true. And, no, but I think that mentality, that humility equals not celebrating yourself, is a huge problem. And actually, humility doesn't mean self-deprecation in the Bible. Humility is seeing yourself as God sees you, right? If you look at the Bible and just read the context, it's seeing yourself as God sees you, right? It's not self-deprecation and, saying I'm nothing, I'm nothing, I'm nothing. Because if you're nothing, God wouldn't have sent his precious son to die for you. But that's another conversation. So God didn't send his son to die for worms.
And they still have purpose, right? But that's not what he sent them for. But they still have purpose, right?
They still have purpose. So in where was I? Where was I wandering off? It's about celebrating ourselves.
Yes. First.
Yes, celebrate. We should celebrate ourselves first. Yes, because there are many areas in our life that are unsung. For example, being a mom. That is like, people look at being a mom as if it's nothing. Raising kids. Doing all the mom things. I remember thinking back, I was talking to somebody. I was like, the year after the pandemic, I was just thinking, just going back, I said, it's a lot of money. And I was like, what was I doing? And I remember what I was doing. I was doing a 4-hour-a-day school run. I had 2 children in 2 selective enrollment schools across town. So I would leave in the morning, go drop one, then go drop the other, then come back home, get ready for the day. By the time I've gotten ready and maybe sent follow-ups to 2 clients, it's time to go and pick them up again. I was like, yeah, no wonder you weren't really doing any work. Because if you're driving for 4 hours a day, that's like your productive
4 hours.
4 hours of school run. So, nobody gave me any accolades for that. Being a mom is very important. Being a wife, being a supportive partner. Somebody, let's say you have a partner who is in the limelight. A lot of people who are in the limelight, they wouldn't be able to do it without a supportive partner at home. Things that build structures for other people. Like, for example, behind the scenes, I have 3 assistants. I have 4 assistants. 3 are ladies. And if not for what they do, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So all these sort of so-called behind the scenes jobs. Now it's coming up more and more how a lot of Black women did certain things in the past. They weren't given the credit, or they weren't recognized.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so many inventions. From GPS to ophthalmoscope, there are so many. I don't remember all of them, but there were like so many inventions that women invented that either they were the credit was given to a man, or it was just sort of pushed aside to where the woman didn't get any credit.
Absolutely.
And those things deserve to be celebrated. So I'm always happy when I see a post or a picture of, oh, do you know this woman invented this and that? I was like, oh, I did that. Great. We need to add that to our knowledge base, and we need to pass that knowledge on to our children as well. And not only our female children, our male children as well.
Absolutely.
You can't keep down half of a population and think that the world is going to thrive.
Listen, that's half of a population. That's a whole different conversation, right? Keeping down half of a population. I'm glad that you said you have to also tell not just the women, but the men as well. Not just your girls, but your boys as well. Because this is a circulation. We all are connected. Man and woman are connected. Okay? And so when I think about that, I have to be honest, open and unashamed with my son. Those are the things that I share with him. So when he comes back around, he'll sit down with me sometimes the most precious moments. And he'll say to me, listen, I was raised with a woman that has utmost customer service. I was raised with a woman that has integrity. When I hear moments like that, I'll be sitting looking at him, just smiling with this grin, like, okay, he's getting it. because sometimes we don't know how our children are getting this thing. You're planting seed, you're giving them what you need, you're supporting, and you're doing all of that. But now he is this young man who says, I watched my single mother raise me, run businesses, go back to school, be a woman of faith, operate in the church, all day at the church, do this, do that, do this, professional, have businesses. And he kept saying it. He said, so I watched you with the utmost customer service. He just shared that with me a few days ago. And I listened to him and he said, so I know how to do what I do. I said, come on, Jesus. Come on, Jesus. That's when you get excited. See, I'm celebrated by my son. I'm celebrated by my mother. My mother loves to celebrate me when I talk to her. But as you stated, most of the time, I'm not with my mother. And most of the time, I may not be hearing that from my son. His actions may be different because he supports me in other areas to celebrate me. But at the end of the day, I am like David, encouraging myself.
Self in the Lord. Amen.
In the Lord, encouraging myself in the Lord. And it's real. You know, I said with an entrepreneur yesterday, he told me both of them are married. And he began to say, but you know, in that entrepreneurship, he said, it can get lonely sometimes. And I looked at him. I said, really? Because I'm a single woman. And I said, it can. Because you're going and you're going and you're encouraging others. I do inspirational poetry, inspirational, products. I'm on the phone doing small groups. We're doing things like this. But when this camera is turned off, I got to make sure that I'm encouraging myself in the Lord.
Exactly. Yes.
You see, because we're excited about one another. We celebrate one another. And I'm quite sure we know how to celebrate other women. I have a group of women that celebrate me and I celebrate them and support them. Yep. But when we're talking about the move of our lives, and most of those people we're connected to some kind of way, not in an intimate way, not in a real friendship way, but just connected, business, you know, those type of things. Yep. A lot of times you're not being celebrated by them.
Yes.
You're not. So our goal is to celebrate one another. And that's what we're talking about today, celebrating women. They've selected this month. Every month we're talking about something, right? They selected this month to celebrate women, but we want to make sure we celebrate women always.
All the time. Yes.
Always. You're an author. I'm an author. Does that mean I can't celebrate you? You have your own audience. I have my own audience. We're celebrating one another. How do we come together, women, collectively, and be that support? And be that support. So I'm excited about Women's History Month. You know, we've been on here, we've been talking and just sharing, and I'm excited about the piece about, you know, what you just wrote, because I believe when people hear it, they will take those buzzwords out and begin to celebrate women.
Yes.
Our young girls, you know, women learning to celebrate their mothers. Young girls I've been in the spaces. They're looking at their parents, looking at their mothers as their worst enemy. You know, that's at teenagers. That's what we do as teenagers.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be.
But it doesn't. We can break that curse right now.
Doesn't have to be.
That we can break that curse right now. Because even as mothers, we still got to be open and unashamed, though.
Yes.
The curse is there a lot of times because we're not open. We're not sharing with them our difficulties. We're not sharing with them the challenges that we have and how we got through it. Or to be able to say, look, baby, this is what I'm going through right now. Mama's going to get through this. You know, we tell them the end story. But what we don't know is they watched you.
Yes.
Be depressed, sleeping in your bed and don't want to get up. They watched you. Talking crazy to them, talking crazy to their father or individuals on the phone. They watch you, they hear you, and seeds are dropping. So women, we want to break this curse. We want to have the spirit to pursue and take the limits off so that we will not be ashamed of the cards that we've been dealt and begin to literally deal with these pieces that have stopped us from forward movement or having that forward movement, and getting from that unstuck place to that place that God wants to have us. So,
Yes.
I'm gonna stop here and see if you want to have anything else you want to add on to this. Has been exciting for me today.
Yes, this has been an exciting conversation. It's longer than our usual, but I believe that everyone who listens to this will glean something from it.
Yes.
In these days of reels, TikToks, and short form content, I think that people are losing that attention span of being able to sit with something for longer, but there are some long conversations that just have to be had. And I believe that today was one of those. So I'm very glad that we did this today. Thank you very much once again for, doing this. And that's, I'm really happy that we did this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So go out and celebrate a woman. Choose somebody this month to celebrate and love on, and celebrate them for Women's History Month. Find a topic or find some history that you didn't know about. Research it so that we know the shoulders that we're standing on. So God bless you all today. We love you, and we'll see you next time.